was the notion that somehow just by having a public option, you have the entire private marketplace destroyed, is just not borne out by the facts. And in fact, right now, you've got a lot of private companies who do very well competing against the government. UPS and FedEx are doing a lot better than the post office. No, they are. And so the larger point I want to make, and
I'm sorry. He kind of drifted off on us, didn't he?
Yeah.
That wasn't even a generality, and he just stuck his foot in his own worst argument by saying, "Hey, we can't even compete against the private sector. We're bankrupt." The Postal Service, $8 billion in the red?
Right. This goes, I mean, the young man, and number one, I'm surprised a political science major from Boulder. My daughter was a political science major at Boulder, and she was the only conservative.
She now votes now Democratic?
No,
you lost your kid?
No,
I'm so sorry to hear that.
But the point he was making is that you have the federal government writing all the rules. You have the full faith and trust of the bank or whatever's left in the treasury. There's nothing there but the ability to borrow more money to subsidize this, to get these plans going, and they don't have to pay interest on the money they borrow.
Well, the real secret here, Congressman Latham, is that they really don't want the private sector to continue. The single payer eventually, the hard left that supports President Obama dreams about the day where they can sign private insurance out of existence. I have half a dozen sound bites to that effect. That is their goal, is to destroy the private sector. Greedy, profit-seeking, fill-in-the-blank so-and-sos, they want them to be erased from the planet, and the government provides everything.
There was an independent study that said out of the 170 million Americans that have their health insurance paid for through their place of work, their business, that 114 million of them would lose that coverage under the plan that's being proposed. And once you get to that point, I mean, you're past the tipping point. Then it's like our good friend that you referred to earlier, Barney Frank, said in one moment of candor, is that if we don't have the public option in here, we're never going to get to a government, a single payer.
Yes.
I mean, and he said this, and that's obviously very...
And that's why the president couldn't give that kid a straight answer.
Right.
Because he really doesn't want the competition from the private sector. He wants to erase it eventually.
Right.
A brief timeout as we broadcast live from the Crystal Studios at the Iowa State Fair. We have one last segment with our in-studio guest, Congressman Tom Latham. We'll go to our phone lines when we get back in just a moment on 1040 WHO Radio. Broadcasting live from the Crystal Studios at the Iowa State Fair. Congressman Tom Latham is our guest. I was just asking you off the air, do you think this is going to, what's going to be the likely outcome of all of this?
No one knows for sure, but I think it was very instructive last Sunday when Kent Conrad, the senator from North Dakota, said that they did not have the votes in the Senate for the public option. The House will not pass something without it. So I don't know where we go. Incrementally, I think there's some things that could be done. I think that you could get bipartisan support. Everyone understands we've got a real problem, and we need to fix it on a bipartisan basis and not just jam something through that the American people don't want.
This is Dave. Good morning, sir. Dave?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm a constituent of Tom's. I grew up about 8 miles from where Tom lives, and
Yes.
I'm in general pleased with what Tom's doing. My frustration comes with the conservatives and the Republican Party in general, that the president is out there on the road something every day for his health care plan. We have the Democrats trying to put something together that's presentable to the public. Why are not the conservatives putting together a plan that they can, each one of them as a cohesive organization, go out there to every talk show and present to the public?
That's a great question. You can't fight something with nothing. What is the Republican alternative?
Well, if you go to the House Republican Conference website, you'll see a plan and their basic principles, and also Roy Blunt from Missouri has been the lead on this, trying to put together. I've got a bill myself. The one thing I would add to that would be tort reform in that bill, but to address the problem. So we're normal Republicans. We have a lot of different ideas, but there are some things I think the only way we're going to accomplish anything is to do it on a bipartisan basis. And I just hope that the leadership in Congress on the Democrat side will step back and say, let's try to work together.
Thank you, sir.
By the year
the Leaf Guard gutter system.
Get it and forget it.
I should tell everybody here that when you come to the State Fair this year, make sure you stop by the WHO Radio Crystal Studios. There's a light drizzle here today. Some people are carrying around umbrellas, and they're out of the worst of it. It's a nice and cool day. It's just an easy way to drift around.